Nadi Shodhana. How to stop fueling your mind. How to stop fueling the thinking process. Right? This thing, this monkey mind that drives us all crazy. Hi, I'm Breadner. This is Yoga Coach. This is a channel for yoga teachers that want to step up in their teaching, that want to transition from the studio to online, and who want to be at the leading edge of how yoga moves into the future. It's really exciting for us. If it's exciting for you, click on the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every time there's a new video coming out. Well, this practice Nadi Shodhana, Nadi, energy pathway, Shodhana means to cleanse. But actually what it's doing is it's balancing our energy system. It's balancing the two channels that fuel duality. What do I mean by duality? Well, the whole idea of yoga is to move back to singularity, to yoke, to join all of the so-called apparent aspects of ourselves that are separate, get them all moving into one direction, so that we can eventually tap into beyond the mind, this greater intelligence, stable states of peace and happiness, and ultimately freedom, singularity, yoga. So beautiful. But what happens is our mind and our senses hijack this process because they're going out and engaging with the world of objects, and then we identify with these objects and we get hopelessly, our consciousness gets hopelessly tangled up into it. And then we start to identify with it. You know, all the things that I like and don't like, if I put it together, we would call it our identity or my ego. And then we're trying to fuel that all the time. So what fuels it? What allows us to have this experience of duality? Well, it's actually these two channels, Ida Pingala, yin and yang. They're the two channels that allow us to actually have experiences in the world. Why do we want to have experiences from a yoga sense? So that we can address our karma. Why do we want to do that? So that we can learn to disidentify, to reverse engineer, come back, withdraw our senses, centralize our consciousness, send it back up into the midbrain here, and that's where yoga starts, and we eventually, through practice, come into singularity to recognize this. So beautiful, such an amazing practice. So what happens is, when we are born, there's this silver streak of intelligence. The yogis have been describing that for hundreds of years. In embryology, at the end of about the 14th day, this silver streak just appears out of nowhere. It's actually in the medical texts. And before that, what has been happening is you just get basic cell splitting and cell differentiation. But there's not a lot of differentiation. And when that silver streak comes in, it's the cord of intelligence. It's that singularity, Brahman, coming in. And then all the cells gravitate around this cord, this subtle thin thread, and they vibrate off and they start creating our physical body. They get programmed and told exactly what they need to do, and we start building the physical body. But the first thing that happens around that is, when that silver streak happens, is that we start to get a folding process. And in the folding process, the first part of that is what they call, creates the neural tube. And the neural tube, at the top of it becomes your brain, and the rest of it is your spinal cord at the sacrum at the end. And then Shiva is at the top, Shakti, the mother nature force, at the bottom, the creative force. And as the neural tube folds, we have the neural crest, and what they do is they break away and they form, the autonomic nervous system, they form yin and yang, they form Ida and Pingala. And this is how we can then go about and experience the world and get this sense of separate objects. When we're working with the subtle body, and this is to do with most of Kriya, Tantra, Laya Yoga, they're working with these four main nadis. Okay? So they extend out into the whole other network. The yogis talk about 72,000 channels, but these four are most important. And balancing Ida and Pingala, balancing the channels that fuel duality, actually, when that happens, is the mind kind of goes into a neutral gear, it goes into a daydream, right? Because the mind can only function through duality. The senses can only function duality. These two currents change every about 88 minutes. Now, when you look at different traditions, they give you a different amount of time. It doesn't really matter. But we know that they oscillate and change in a healthy human being around every 88 minutes. And that correlates with this left channel is to do with the right brain. The right channel is to do with the left brain. And if we can interrupt that process by balancing those two channels, then the mind just doesn't know what to do. So this is the cool process in Kriya and Tantra, because when that happens is the senses start to withdraw. And when they withdraw, we can centralize our consciousness in the spine and the brain. Then we can draw the consciousness back up to the midbrain where it entered. And then there's a whole process of yoga where we learn to go from busy mind to mindfulness to actually beyond the mind and tapping into this greater intelligence, this silver streak, and connecting back into it. So that's a backstory of Nadi Shodhana and why it's such the king or queen of pranayama practices. It's very simple, oftentimes misunderstood, like the power of it, but it's essential in any practice to learn how to do this. What we do is we generally use our right hand and we have our thumb extended. The next two fingers curl under and then the fourth and fifth come together. And you're pinching the bridge of the nose from that place. You can also have the two fingers coming up at your Anjana at the third eye. I like to do it down here. It's easier for me to demonstrate and show you as well on the camera. When you're pinching the bridge of the nose, this is also a subtlety that's important. These, like, it's no mistake that we have two nostrils, right? Not one. There's two nostrils in the design. And they have little kind of glands at the back there that take the oxygen but absorb the prana and then split it into those two channels. So when we are here, you've got the bony bit at the top, right? And then you've got the cartilage bendy bit. So a lot of people just hold at the bendy bit there and close the nostrils. But actually, in refining the practice, the two nadis terminate at the ends of the bones. So when we've got our thumb and our fourth finger, we actually want them to come down to the ends of the bones and slightly push upwards. Okay? Because what this does is it stimulates the channels and the prana. Right? So it's down underneath and slightly up, just gently pushing up there. Then we're alternating the breath. So if I inhale through the right nostril, right, I seal the right, exhale left. Inhale left, seal it, exhale right. Now you can see I'm not taking my fingers away from the nostril. I keep them and it's just a simple, gentle change in pressure, and I'm touching the nostrils all of the time. So in fact, the nostril that you're breathing through is half open. So you're regulating the flow of the breath. Try not to take the fingers away. Touching all the time and shifting pressure. When you're starting, you want to do something like a 3-3 rhythm or a 4-4, meaning inhale 4, exhale 4, inhale 3, exhale 3, and keep that rhythm going. So if I do one round, inhale for 4, seal, exhale for 4, inhale for 4, seal, exhale 4. When you start and you check it out, you'll notice that most of the time, one nostril is more open than the other. So you can see one. So I can breathe much easier through my left nostril at the moment, meaning that's the dominant, the Ida side, and the right side is not as active at the moment. Sometimes you'll find both open, and because they transition every, couple, at the 88 minutes, it takes a few minutes to transition. One time you'll notice this if you've had the flu and your nostrils are all blocked, and then you kind of get that, kind of sound. And that's where your nostrils are transitioning from one side to the other. When we look at these duality, Ida represents moon, cooling, feminine, creative aspect, the negative polarity. When we look at the Pingala on the right, that's sun, masculine, analytical, heating, positive polarity. So we're balancing those two. In fact, that's what Hatha Yoga means. Ha, energy of sun, Ta, energy of moon. We're balancing those energies so that it makes it easier for us to come into singularity. Again, why such a powerful practice? When you're doing this practice, 6 rounds is enough. If you are teaching a class, you get everyone to start on the same nostril. It just makes it easier, makes life easier. But if you're practicing yourself, then look at the nostril that is most open and start on your inhale there. So my left is most open, so if I inhale left, I seal and exhale right. You always transition nostrils on the exhale. So you inhale, seal, exhale to the other side, inhale the same nostril, seal, transition, exhale to the other side. Right? 6 rounds. And what you'll notice when you do it regularly is you'll get this sense of like centering, of stillness, of balance point. Right? And then you added practices, the added kriyas, to start to refine that process. And you can see them in other videos here on how to do that. And add on to this is that we can add the 1-4-2 rhythm. And the 1-4-2 rhythm, what the yogis describe, is what helps with pratyahara. And it cuts the pattern in the brain that helps with pratyahara. And pratyahara is sense withdrawal. So even by doing the practice, you're withdrawing the senses. But when you add a 1-4-2 rhythm to it, it really helps that process. What does 1-4-2 mean? If I inhaled for 3, I would then hold the breath times 4, that's 12. And then I would exhale the original 3 times 2, that's 6. Okay, 3, 12, 6. If it was 4, it would be 16, 8, 5, 20, 10, 6, 24, 12. When you're doing this, don't hold the breath to strain. Don't let the ego trying to hold bigger ratios. Find a rhythm that's increased if you have the capacity, but without strain. Let me do 1 round like that. So if I inhale for a count of 3, I hold for 12, change sides, exhale 6, inhale 3 again, retain for 12, exhale 6. If it's new for you, get comfortable with the 1-on-1 ratio, 3 and 3 or 4 and 4, then you can start to build in the 1-4-2 rhythm. Remember, the whole purpose and aim of yoga is to control the vrittis in the chitta, right? The movements of mind in your field of awareness. So you have to be able to switch off the mind and withdraw the senses. This is an essential practice. It's very powerful. Get good at it. Teach it to your students, and then learn how to build on top of that to take it even further and learn to, in the quickest way possible, to activate and upgrade your energy system. Because remember, everything is energy. And, I'm made of energy. The camera's made of energy. The computer's made of energy. It's just moving from one place to another. What we're learning to do as yogis is to become more subtle human beings. To move from gross to divine, right? To a state of yoga. But we have to get away from the mind. And Nadi Shodhana is a wonderful practice, a simple practice and powerful practice to help us move in that direction. If you're finding value here, like, share, comment. See you in the next video. One-handed namaste, shaka, peace.